please be upstanding for the Worshipful, the Mayor of Gedling.
Welcome to this evening. Now, before we start, I've got to tell you, we're on the film. It's all been, what do we call it? Screamed. So, you've all got to be on your best behaviour tonight, Paddy. Best behaviour. Anyway, thank you for all coming tonight. This is a pleasure for me. I've known Vernon quite a long time now. So it's a real pleasure for me to put this honour on to our friend Vernon Coaker. So please be seated. First of all, I'd like to welcome our new councillor, Councillor Linda Pearson. Hope you have a wonderful time on Gedling Borough Council. I've been here about just over 50 years, so I can recommend it. It's really nice. It's a fantastic pleasure for me tonight. I've known Vernon when he was a teacher at Arnold School. I know all his kids. I can remember this one here putting the post up outside our house about Vernon Coaker. That's a long while ago now. He was a young lad then. So I've known Vernon quite a long while, and he's always been a bloke what you could talk to. Got no airs and graces, plenty of rattle like me, but you could talk to him. So it's a great privilege for me to do this for Vernon tonight, because I looked through this list here tonight, who got the freedoms, and I think I can remember all of them. I weren't on the council when all of them, but most of them, I was on the council when most of them got the honours. So it's really, really a pleasure for me to be here tonight to pursue this honour for Vernon Coaker, who's been a tremendous MP for this area. I know we've got the other side here tonight, but that's welcome, and we welcome here tonight. We're celebrating what Vernon done for this community for the best part of 30 years, so it's a pleasure. So first of all, I'd like to call on Michael Payne to the honours, please.
No, not yet.
Oh,
Peter. This bit.
Oh,
Call on me first.
the Chief Executive, I'm sorry. Getting carried away. That's an...
This is on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to read through the council resolution. So, at a meeting of the council of the Borough of Gedling held on the 29th of January 2020, and on the motion of Councillor Payne and seconded by Councillor Barnfather, it was resolved that, in pursuance of Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1972, the most honourable distinction of the title of Honorary Freeman of the Borough of Gedling be conferred upon Vernon Rodney Coaker, in recognition of his eminent service to the Borough through his 22 years' service as Member of Parliament for Gedling, and as an expression of the high esteem in which he is held by the members of the Council and his fellow citizens. And the Council do hereby confer upon Vernon Rodney Coaker the title of Honorary Freeman of the Borough of Gedling accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I rise to propose that the Mayor be requested to present to Mr. Coaker the illuminated scroll on which is engrossed the resolution of the Council and the certificate of the conferment of the title of Honorary Freeman of the Borough of Gedling. Mr. Mayor, Lord and Lady Coaker, Honorary Aldermen, Members of Parliament, Councillors, distinguished guests, making someone an Honorary Freeman of the Borough of Gedling is not something which happens every day, or in fact, every year. This evening will be the first time the Borough has created an Honorary Freeman since September 2010. It is the highest honour we can bestow on a citizen and is given in recognition of the high esteem in which the citizen is held by the council and indeed the citizens of the borough, and also for achievements of great merit. It is an award that has only been bestowed 16 times in the borough's 48-year history. It is an immense privilege to be proposing that the honourable distinction of the title of Honorary Freeman of the Borough of Gedling be conferred upon our friend and our colleague and a mentor to many, Vernon Rodney Coaker. And it is without doubt that Vernon is deserving of this distinction and accolade. His lifetime has been dedicated to serving the people of Gedling in his work as a teacher and for 22 distinguished years as our local Member of Parliament. On the 10th of June 1997 at 9:15, Vernon Coaker rose on his feet in the House of Commons to make his maiden speech as newly elected Member of Parliament for Gedling, Labour's first and only Member of Parliament for this constituency. He promised his constituents he would represent them to the very best of his ability, and that's precisely what he's been doing for the best part of a quarter of a century. In his maiden speech, Mr. Mayor and distinguished guests, he spoke about his life's two greatest passions, education and public service. His lifelong belief that they can truly change people's lives for the better, something he still passionately believes today and advocates for to this very day. The measure of any public servant, Mr. Mayor, is how true they remain to their values, their beliefs and promises, and the legacy that they leave to future generations. On this count, Vernon has rightly earned the respect of his peers and fellow citizens, locally, regionally, nationally, and yes, internationally. Wherever you go, and whoever you speak to, and many in this room will attest to the fact, from all political parties and none, he is held in the highest regard, and deservedly so. In his maiden speech I referenced to the House of Commons, Vernon promised to regenerate Netherfield, to advocate for future development possibilities on the Home Ales Brewery site in Daybrook, for the restoration of the Gedling Pit to form a country park, and backed the associated campaign for a Gedling bypass. It is a testament to Vernon's devotion and hard work for Gedling and the people who live here throughout his 22 years as our distinguished Member of Parliament that he has delivered alongside a team on every single one of those solemn promises he made in the House of Commons. And Vernon would be the first to say to you tonight, he couldn't have done it without the dedicated team around him, nor without the support and affection he received from the people and community groups, many of whom he's invited to be here tonight with him in Gedling, the borough he loves so dearly. So tonight, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the council and the people of Gedling, I'd like to say a heartfelt thank you to Vernon's biggest supporter, to you, Jackie. Your commitment, compassion and dedication to Gedling Labour Party, Gedling Borough and its people has simply been second to none. We are all, and always will be, eternally grateful to you, to Vernon's children and to Vernon's grandchildren for the support that you have given to our communities and you have given to him. If I had £1, Mr. Mayor, for every time I hear people say that politicians are all the same, I'd be a millionaire. But it's just not true. And if you don't believe me, you have to look no further than Vernon Coaker. In a world where public service often gets bad publicity, Vernon is a personification that losing yourself in the service of others is the only route to earning trust and respect. Whilst democracy and the values that underpin it are under threat around the world, Vernon has been an authentic, authoritative and steadfast ambassador of honesty, integrity and decency in public life. And in a world where there is so much cynicism that surrounds politics, you'd struggle to find anyone truly cynical about Vernon, because his passion is genuine, his beliefs and values are unwavering, and his generosity to others is evident in every single thing he does. It's been said, Mr. Mayor, that a good education can change anyone, but a good teacher can change everything. Perhaps Vernon's greatest gift is not only that he has inspired a generation of pupils, And believe me, if you've knocked on doors in Gedling, you meet them every single day, at every single age, who remind you that he taught them and how proud of the education they were that they received. But his other greatest gift is that he inspired a generation of young people to believe that public service and politics is an honourable pursuit. And when carried out in his exemplar with dignity and grace, you can change people's lives for the better. In moving this motion tonight, Mr. Mayor, let me say to you, Vernon, for your service and your dedication, for your unwavering commitment to our borough, and your committed friendship to so many, you have been an example to all. On behalf of the council and the citizens of our borough, thank you. This award is richly deserved by you.
Can I call on Councillor Chris Barnfather, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hate following Michael. Whether it's in this chamber or at County Hall, it's the worst call. You watch when you put your hand up to make sure you're not following him. It's like the warm-up act coming on after the star turn at a concert. So bear with me. Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, assembled guests, I've tried researching the etiquette for addressing a meeting containing a real-life Lord. I wasn't sure, therefore, whether I should start with my lords, ladies and gentlemen, or not. However, as the speech is about the nomination of a lord, rather than addressing a lord, I've settled for the usual order of things here at Gedling. Lord only knows whether I've got it right or not. Here in this chamber tonight, we have an abundance of politicians of every hue and colour, and at every level, from the House of Lords all the way down to, with no disrespect, the parish council. The thing that unites us all in this business is that we all regard ourselves as politicians, whether with a capital or a small p, but that we all care passionately about our residents and our communities, and that we always believe, of course, that we are right and everybody else is wrong. Sometimes those words, politics and politicians, whether with a large or a small p, get in the way, both in this chamber and I suspect most others around the country. And we let it unduly influence our thinking and our relationships. So tonight I want to take the words politics and politicians out of the equation altogether and recognise that we are gathered here this evening not just to recognise and reward the achievements of the politician and former Member of Parliament Baron Coaker of Gedling, but to honour and recognise a lifetime of caring and compassionate service to generations of Gedling Borough residents by the man behind the title, Vernon Rodney Coaker himself. I first met Vernon in about 1995, during his tenure as Deputy Head Teacher at the Bigwood School in Top Valley, or, if you're posh, Warren Wood. This was, of course, not his first involvement in teaching Gedling children, Vernon having previously taught at my old school, Arnold Hill. I hasten to add, though, not in my time there. Although, in fairness, Vernon, you are actually younger than me. I'll just point that one out. Vernon has always displayed those caring and compassionate qualities that I alluded to earlier, and perhaps none more so than in his extensive teaching career, much of it spent in Gedling schools, educating Gedling children. I dare say that there may be people in this room tonight who were actually taught by Vernon or were the parents of such children. However, as we all know, Vernon had different aspirations than achieving a headship in teaching, which was well within his grasp at that time. And after a 14-year period as a district councillor in, of all places, Rushcliffe, was first elected in 1997 as the Member of Parliament for Gedling. The rest, as they say, is history and has already been covered to some degree by Michael. But let's look at it. The House of Commons, Minister of State for Schools and Learners, Minister of State for Policing, Crime and Security, Lord Commissioner of the Treasury, Shadow Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, Shadow Secretary of State for Defence, and now in the Lords, Shadow Spokesman for Home Affairs, Shadow Spokesman for Defence. But as I said at the beginning, this nomination tonight, supported, I know, by all political hues across this chamber, red, blue, yellow and white, is as much about the man as his career at Westminster, and mostly about his contribution to the residents and communities that make up this great borough of Gedling. If you ask people in Arnold or Carlton or Netherfield, Mapley or Woodthorpe about Vernon and ask them to describe him, they will all no doubt include some or all of the words affable, friendly, caring, committed, helpful and compassionate, because that is the nature of the man and the nature of his contribution to the life of the borough, for not just the 22 years that he was Gedling's MP, but for the almost 10 years that he taught in Gedling schools. During my own 10-year tenure as the leader of the Conservative group on this council, there were many occasions where our paths crossed, and I can say that without exception, Vernon was kind, considerate, friendly and helpful. He would always acknowledge me, always come across and speak, and share a few words or a joke, whether at a fraught election count, formal meetings, or more enjoyable social functions. He always took the time and trouble equally to speak to my wife, and by name, which certainly counted for a lot in my household, I can tell you. If you've ever stood in Ravenshead, Vernon, she might even have voted for you, just for making her other than the often invisible political wife. I have to say, Vernon never puts on airs and graces, and one of my wife's fondest recollections is of us both attending a Remembrance military-themed event at the Richard Herod Centre in 2012, covering uniforms and equipment from both World Wars. The WI, or the Red Cross, produced a resusciani. Now, for those of you who don't know what a resusciani is, it's a mannequin-sized figure on which you teach people the rudiments of first aid, cardiac resuscitation, mouth-to-mouth, etc. Vernon, without the blink of an eye, straight down on all fours. Somebody had asked him how it was done. He was there on all fours to show them. He gave a very proficient and vigorous display of mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I hadn't seen such enthusiasm for the subject since they closed Wednesday nights at the Palais. Jackie, I don't even want to ask where he got his training from. Too much information. I think that the final example of the measure of the man that I would like to share with you tonight is that when Vernon was appointed a life peer and was to be made Baron Coaker, he quite naturally indicated a preference to be known as Baron Coaker of Gedling. But before doing so, he had the grace and forethought to contact me as the then Conservative group leader to ensure that neither I nor the Conservative group would be offended. We were, of course, not. Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, my Lord, it gives me great pleasure to second the nomination of Vernon Rodney Coaker as an honorary Freeman of the Borough of Gedling.
Can I just introduce the video? I don't know how this works, this video thing, but John Clark, the leader of the council, is going to come up on the screen and give you a few minutes. Councillor Clark. I can't see it. Technology. Don't ask me. Yeah, but it's stop. It's just, I can see it.
Certainly welcome everybody here tonight, those who've not been to Gedling before, but especially to Vernon and family, Jackie and the kids and the grandkids now, of course. Welcome to Gedling. I apologise I'm not here tonight, I'm on the council business and I'm unable to be here. But it's a great honour that the council's bestowing, and I know you've well earned it over 22 years. It's not just 22 years that you've done this, it's all the years before, because I can remember, as you can see by the grey hair you've got now, is that we've planned this many years ago, and we did want to try and take this council for the Labour Party, and we achieved it not only with that, but also with the MP. Which is a great achievement on its own, but with many, many thousands of people that you've helped through that time, I would just say on their behalf, thank you, and thank you from myself. It's not just you here tonight, it's not just the people in this chamber that are here tonight looking at this proceeding. What it is for other people, I'll mention some names from the past, which is people such as Albert Arkin, who was a great Arnold councillor, Faye Riley, that's another Arnold councillor, Tom Saunderson, Martin Hall, Audrey Penry, and not forgetting at the end of the day, not forgetting Ivan Gollop, and you'll see his name on the board over there, and all the good work that Ivan did. These people are past now, but they will certainly be with you tonight. So well done, and thank you for your service together.
Address, please. It's the first time I've used that.
Ladies and gentlemen, what an absolute honour it is for me to stand here before you and receive this prestigious award. And I hope you bear with me for a few minutes as I speak about a few things that are important to me. But this occasion is made even more memorable by the fact that so many of my family, friends and colleagues are here, along with politicians of all parties and community representatives. Thank you to all of you. These ceremonies are always a reflection on the community, in this case all of you, and your ongoing service to others. I've known many of you for decades, including the Mayor of Gedling, Councillor Peter Barnes and his wife Sandra. And Mr Mayor, it's a privilege to be in the council chamber, and I'm very grateful for the kind remarks that you've made and your kind and gracious words are very much appreciated. Can I also say a very dear thank you to Rose, who has travelled many miles to be with us. This didn't happen when I practiced it. Many miles to be with us this evening. Your presence here means an awful lot to all of us, and it also allows us to remember one of our own aldermen, my dear friend Ivan Gollop, who is sadly no longer with us. Ivan was a true friend. He did so much for me and for the borough. Ivan, you will always stay with us and stay with me always. But above all, can I also pay tribute to my family and give sincere thanks to them. Jackie, my wife, my son, Matt, and daughter, Laura. Your love and support has meant everything to me, and nothing I've done could have been achieved without you. There are, of course, others that cannot be here tonight and have sent apologies, including, I'm so grateful for this, MPs Mark Spencer, Lillian Greenwood, Nadia Whitcomb, and indeed former MP Ken Clark, and in fact Andrew Mitchell, who we will all know, who sent his profound apologies and whose daughter got married today in West Bridgford. And can I send, and I think we all would send our congratulations to them. Can I also thank my colleague Alex Norris for being here, and also for Tom Randall for taking the time and trouble to be with us here this evening. And I think these are important occasions, and I'm very grateful to the two of you finding the time as well to be amongst us. My mother can't be with us and sends her apologies, but she didn't want to be here without my father. They would have been here together tonight, but my father sadly passed away as many of you know, just a few months ago. They always remained proud of my achievements, even as a Labour politician. For as some of you know, they were until recently lifelong members of the Conservative Party. It's a bit like my middle name. I don't tell people that very much. My father's roots, Rodney, yes, you should have heard what I was called at school, but my father's roots were in rural Devon of the 1920s and 30s. He was one of 10 children living in grinding poverty. No gas, electricity or running water. He taught me what was really important in life. Despite their deprivation, which will be familiar to many of you here, they had a happiness, a joy, a satisfaction in life that no money or success or wealth could buy. In everything I do in my personal, professional and political life, I've always tried to stand by the values that he taught me. Tolerance, family, respect, duty, patriotism, all of those. It is said by some indeed that this is nostalgia, that these values are old-fashioned. I disagree. In receiving this honour and in the work and lives of all of you here is a living testimony to the fact that they are as relevant now as they always have been. And is this not what we saw so vividly demonstrated in all of our communities by the Platinum Jubilee celebrations? I believe that this honour awarded by Gedling Borough is meant to mark not just an individual such as myself, but these values as a whole, and for them to be reflected in all that the council does. The boards of the Alderman and Freeman on the wall in this chamber, some of whom are here today, are testament to this. In Freeman like Tom Levers and Ernest Lester, who built much needed social housing in the area. Ernest's son Jim Lester going on to be a well-respected Conservative Member of Parliament. Len Turton, whose daughter became the first Notts female to play cricket for England. Joe Clark, a prominent local businessman. Bill Brown, a brilliant past chief executive of this council, whose great staff we also pay tribute to. The proper recognition, particularly at times like this, of our military, in freedoms granted to the Mercian Regiment and to the Sherwood Rangers Yeomanry. And to Carl Frott, who rose through hard work, determination and skill to become a world champion. And indeed to Miss Gell, a woman on the Freeman board. And I don't want to be controversial, but perhaps let's hope that there are a few more women to come there. And in recognising these phenomenal people, it becomes clear that despite political clashes and even ideological differences, there is a firm and strong belief in our democracy and the work done by so many for the community. These values command respect from us all. They are resounding values of everything I believe in and why I've dedicated myself along with you to serving others, to making a difference, however small or big that to be a voice for those who have no voice and to stand up for the most vulnerable in our communities. They remain the foundations of my belief and the belief of every single person and organisation in this room, that we can all, in our own way and through our own paths, make a difference. I'm really grateful to all the comments that have been made and for the support of all for this award. I wish to thank Councillor Michael Payne, a proud Labour politician, for his kind remarks and for moving the motion so ably and with such generosity. It's greatly appreciated, Michael, by me and by my family. Can I also thank Councillor Chris Barnfather, a proud Conservative politician, for seconding the motion and for all of his kind and remarks, which speak so highly of his own integrity, something we all admire in this chamber and beyond. And to all other parties and all councillors for their support. Mr. Mayor, all of our lives are a journey. Each and every one of us has a story to tell of the influences on us, the people who have inspired us, and the events that have shaped us. All of us have tried to make a difference, to do good in our work, in our lives and in our communities. For me, that started in North London as the son of a police officer, having to overcome family difficulties, like many, to achieve at school, going on to Warwick University, then completing my postgraduate certificate of education at the then Trent Polytechnic. It was teaching that first brought me to Gedling, as we've heard, with a placement actually at Carntley Willows. I then went on to spend over 20 years teaching in Nottinghamshire schools, including at Arnold Hill and Bigwood or Oakwood, as it is now, and proudly becoming a deputy head teacher. And it's good to see Michael Taylor. I can't see Michael, one of my former heads actually at Bramcote. It's very good, Michael, that you've taken the trouble to be with us as Boyd's guest. I went into teaching to make a difference, to inspire young people, just like I had been, and to raise the aspirations of the most socially disadvantaged. I was always so proud of the efforts those schools made, all schools make, to help all pupils achieve their very best, whatever that best is. I became a local councillor in Cotgrave in 1983. And for those ever wondering or pondering about the ups and downs of politics, I would just point out that in 1983, I was one of just 2 councillors, Labour councillors, on Rushcliffe Borough Council, the other one being Dave Bates, who is also here this evening. I would say it was quite astounding what a difference just 2 councillors, or if you were the Conservative group at that time, the irritation that you can achieve for your community. But it led me back to my belief that every single person has a role to play in their community, and every single person has the ability to make a difference. I was a councillor representing a coal mining town throughout the miners' strike of 1984-85 and through the subsequent decline of the coal industry locally and nationally. And I saw at first hand some of the consequences. And it was as a direct result of these experiences, and I'm sure others have had experiences which have changed their lives as well, but it was as a direct result of these experiences and the experiences of the community I represented that I decided to become more politically active and to try and change lives for the better at a national level. My entry to national politics had begun. It was far from an instant success, with many unsuccessful attempts before finally succeeding in 1997, and the privilege of serving Gedling until 2019. It was the greatest honour of my life to represent Gedling and to serve Gedling. I already knew what kind of Member of Parliament that I wanted to be, and that I was not only to be Gedling's strong voice in Westminster, but to be a hard-working, dedicated constituency MP. I was honoured, as we've heard, to have national roles, such as Minister at the Home Office, then a Minister of State for Schools, Shadow Secretary of State for Defence, Shadow Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. Indeed, what I was also very proud of, my international work, including with UNICEF, in supporting children and refugees in war-torn countries of Kosovo, Macedonia, Angola and others. My passion to help the most vulnerable across the world has proven a constant throughout my political career. But I always tried to ensure that my priority was here in Gedling and to those that I was elected to serve. Work, actually, I'd continue in many ways, including as a research fellow on modern slavery at Nottingham University. The communities here made me feel like Gedling was home, a place I could always go to. I'm particularly proud of the people that live here and the rich tapestry of community and voluntary organisations that do endless work, often giving up their own time to help others. My life as an MP did take me to different countries, meeting world leaders, including Barack Obama. It also resulted in me becoming more or less a pro-bingo player. You'd probably be used to that, you two over there now, pro-bingo players, and chief cake taster from the many community events I attended. In all seriousness, the constituency days were always full, visiting the many fantastic schools in Gedling, churches, support groups, care homes, supporting much important work, including Breathe Easy, dementia, and child migrants. The list goes on. My days were always full because the work you all did for Gedling and the people of Gedling always mattered the most to me. And it was always an absolute pleasure and privilege. People and community, I always tried to ensure came first. My one regret is that I couldn't help everyone. I couldn't sort out every problem, and all of you will be familiar with that. The awful injustices suffered by some people I couldn't put right. I remember these as much as the successes, but I never became cynical about the process. I'm proud, though, of the many individuals I have been able to help over the years, some of whom are here tonight. Certainly as an MP, I found myself helping people on an international and local issues. And I have to say the thanks received from a person simply for sorting out a bill error or wrong tax demand would even bring tears to my eyes. Indeed, being the human face of a sometimes faceless bureaucracy meant everything. And I was helped magnificently by Colette Roberts, who worked for me all of that time. I was a Member of Parliament, and I'm glad that Colette is here tonight, as well as for many years by Janet Peat and more lately by Michelle Welsh, all of whom are here, as well as others, including officials and councillors of all parties, past and present. I'm glad so many, again, have taken the trouble to be here. Yes, of course, my own party has played a huge role in supporting my work, but I was and am treated by everyone, including my political opponents, with respect and courtesy, which I appreciate. There are many other individuals to thank. It would be impossible to thank all of them, but I'm sure you know who you are. My agent in 1997, Paul Maguire, it's great to see Paul here, and in the last 4 elections by Mark Glover. I would not be here if it weren't for these people and many others, and I would not be carrying on with my work in the House of Lords without you. Entering the House of Lords and becoming a working peer, leading on Defence and Home Office, is a huge honour, and the one that I'm still completely humbled by. I can safely say, however, that as I weave my way through the corridors of the House of Lords, you don't hear many accents like mine. And that is important for so many reasons. Where you come from, how your voice sounds, should not determine your life's chances. And that's why my aspiration to change the lives of the most disadvantaged for the better is stronger today than it ever has been. And indeed, is that not the inspiration of every single person in this room and why they carry on with what they do? To all of the community groups, and I apologise if I've missed anybody out, but local campaigners, the kids against all of these, many of these are here, the kids against plastic, to the sports clubs, the schools, the churches, the NHS, St George's Centre, Gedling Play Forum, Age Concern, the food banks. It has been and it is a joy to work with you, as many others, such as the police, the fire and ambulance services, all of the faith organisations, and indeed local businesses who I've said are also represented here. As I say, it's been and is a joy to work with you all and with many others. You are the best, and the difference you will make is inspiring and continues to inspire me. You are here, as I said, as part of the rich tapestry that makes Gedling such a wonderful place to live, to work and study. A tapestry that brings the values that matter most in the life of all of our communities. Your work and dedication inspires us all. So that is some of my story, some part of my journey. You have all been a part of that, and so many people and organisations locally, nationally and internationally. I'm so grateful, and I hope I've done justice to all of you and to all of those who had faith in me. Traditions in our society have a place. Honours in our society have a place. And I'm so proud and honoured to be here with my family, my friends and colleagues to receive this honour. To my father, who's looking down on us, I hope, I say these traditional values live on. And what a view it would be for him to look from rural Devon of the 1920s and 30s to this council chamber in 2022. Who would have believed it? I don't think he would. It's been a truly incredible journey for me. I hope that my continuous work to help improve the lives of people and the communities I have represented has made a difference to Gedling. My work will go on. It's a great honour, and thank you so much for the honour that you've bestowed upon me. I won't forget it, my family won't forget it, and thanks again. It's really much appreciated. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, follow that. It's been an extremely emotional evening this evening, and we have to thank this guy for that. I've known Vernon best part of 50 odd years now, and we've had one or two bloody goes, and but we've always come out the other side, and that's important. You can have your disagreements, but you have to get together and achieve what the aim is, which is what we're in the Labour Party for. So I thank Vernon and his family this evening, and I thank everybody else for coming tonight, because I think you've heard a speech tonight which bloody brilliant. I shouldn't. So if you would like to make your way downstairs, we've got a drink, a glass of wine, and there might be a cob, I think. So thank you very much for coming, and I do appreciate everybody here tonight. I think they've got a smile on their face, which is wonderful, because sometimes we come in here and you're really angry, but tonight it's different. So thank you very much for everybody, and thanks for our friend Lord Coaker.
Thank you very much.